Have you ever wondered where a thought goes when it's never spoken? Or where a letter ends up when the address no longer exists and the sender has vanished into thin air? We like to believe that reality is a solid, unbreakable thing, like stone or steel. But those of us who spend too much time in the silence of old archives know the truth. Reality is more like parchment, thin, fragile, and prone to tearing if you press too hard in the wrong places. My name is Elias, and I spent 20 years as a senior archivist at the National Library. I was a man of facts, of dates, and of physical evidence. But 3 months ago, I found a door that wasn't on the blueprints. It was hidden behind a row of rotting mahogany shelves in the basement of the East Wing. The wood of the door was cold, vibrating with a low frequency that I felt in my teeth. When I pushed it open, I didn't find another room of books. I found the Museum of Unsent Letters. I stepped through, and the air immediately changed. It was thick, tasting of stale ozone and the metallic tang of old ink. I wasn't in the library anymore. I was in a version of our world that had been left to rot in the dark. The ceiling was so high, it disappeared into a thick gray fog. Before me stretched an infinite gallery of gray, metallic mailboxes. They weren't just on the walls. They formed the walls, rising up like jagged cliffs of steel. There were no windows, only the flickering hum of overhead fluorescent lights that cast a sickly, jaundiced glow. The silence was heavy, the kind of silence that feels like it's pressing against your eardrums. I walked down the first aisle, my footsteps echoing with a hollow, metallic ring. Every mailbox was overflowing with envelopes of all sizes and colors. Some were yellowed with age, brittle as dead leaves. Others looked fresh, as if they had been dropped into a slot only seconds before. I reached out, my fingers trembling, and pulled a single letter from a box labeled Sector 7A. The paper felt strangely heavy, almost like it had a heartbeat of its own. I opened it and began to read the frantic handwriting of a woman named Clara. "To anyone who can hear me," it began. "The sky here is the color of a bruise and never changes." She wrote about walking out of her apartment in Chicago and finding herself on a street that looked like hers, but wasn't. The people there had no faces, just smooth indentations where their eyes should be. She had been writing letters for years, she said, hoping one would find its way back to the bright world. I dropped the letter, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I realized then where I was. This was 7LM, the place between the cracks of our existence. This was the final destination for everyone who had ever slipped. I moved deeper into the labyrinth, passing endless rows of these silent testimonies. I saw a letter from a boy who had disappeared from a playground in 1984. He wrote to his mother that he wasn't hungry anymore, but he missed the sound of rain. In 7LM, there is no weather, only the static of a dying television screen. I saw a postcard from a man who had taken a wrong turn on a highway in 1992. He described a city made entirely of gray concrete, where the clocks only move backward. Millions of messages. Not a single one had ever reached our world. The sorrow of the place was a physical weight, a suffocating blanket of lost hope. I felt a sudden chill crawl up my spine, a sensation of being watched by 1,000 unseen eyes. From the shadows of a distant aisle, I heard a sound. The rhythmic clack, clack, clack of a sorting machine. But it didn't sound like any machine I knew. It sounded like bone hitting metal. I saw a figure moving in the fog, tall and impossibly thin, dressed in a tattered blue uniform. It moved with a jerky, unnatural gait, its limbs bending at angles that defied human anatomy. It was a mailman, a guardian of the unsent, a collector of the forgotten. It didn't have a face, only a wide horizontal slit across its head that whistled as it breathed. I realized it wasn't just sorting the letters. It was feeding on the despair they contained. I turned and ran, my lungs burning in the cold, dead air. The aisles seemed to shift and lengthen as I sprinted, the mailboxes closing in like teeth. I could hear the whistling breath of the mailman behind me, closer with every step. "You have a letter too, Elias," a voice whispered in my mind, cold and hollow. I burst through the mahogany door and slammed it shut, collapsing on the dusty floor of the library. I stayed there for hours, gasping for breath, until the sun began to rise through the high windows. But the world didn't look the same anymore. The colors seemed faded, the sounds of the street outside muffled and distant. I went back to my desk and tried to work, but I couldn't stop thinking about the letters. I realized that I had left something behind in that gray place. Or perhaps, something from that place had followed me back. Every time I look at a mailbox now, I feel a wave of nausea. I see people dropping letters into slots, unaware of the vast, hungry void on the other side. I've started writing my own letters now, but I don't mail them. I keep them in a box under my bed, hidden away from the mailman. Because I know that somewhere in Seven Alum, there is a mailbox with my name on it, and it's waiting to be filled. Be careful when you send a message into the dark. You never know who might be waiting to catch it. Reality is thin, my friend. And the museum is always looking for new exhibits.